At Robertson with a program note, this edition of This Week in TV History was recorded in September 2019 and broadcast in November of that year.
Hi, this is Melissa Manchester, and you lucky people, are listening to TV Confidential.
Tony Figueroa is with us as we take a look at This Week in TV History. Tony's segment, as always, is brought to us by Story Salon, Southern California's longest-running, regularly performing live storytelling ensemble with live performances every Wednesday at the Art Parlor in Valley Village, occasionally other nights of the week at the Art Parlor in Valley Village. For more information, storysalon.com, facebook.com/Story Salon. Donna ordinarily is with us. See, I've got your introduction committed to memory,
and
now
that
that
both of us,
I've stumbled because Donna's not here. Donna's on assignment.
I know, and at the end when I say next time, it's going to lack. What a accidental signature the two of us got going there.
It's your thing.
It's our thing, and yeah, when I do it just sounds
it
sad.
It doesn't sound the same without
it. Does not. And Donna has that voice. That is her signature voice. And anyway, yeah, she is visiting family in the Midwest, so we're putting together a few of our TV history things. And I have to say, because we usually do this a couple kind of like production, like it is right now. It is late September. All the TV shows are doing their Halloween episode.
Yes, right.
Yeah, if you are driving onto a studio lot, you're gonna see people walking outside of sound stages dressed like giant strawberries, or because everybody has to be wearing silly costumes for the Halloween episode.
And it used to be that TV shows never did a Halloween. I mean, maybe the Munsters, but TV shows. Well, but now that's a standard thing every season. Every new show does a Halloween episode.
It would be a purpose. Like you would have that episode where they go to the haunted house, or like Happy Days, they would have like a Halloween party.
Yeah.
And then there'd be something built around the Halloween party. But now you have.
But now every season they do a new Halloween
every season
episode.
I think. The original run of Roseanne made that a tradition because they always did a Halloween episode, and they were always really well done.
Yeah.
And, and I think also, TV shows may do a Christmas episode every other year. The following year, they just repeat that episode. But again, when you're working in this type of field, you're always going to be ahead of schedule. By the time we get close to Halloween, everyone's doing the Christmas episode.
Absolutely.
And before they take their hiatus at the end of the year, usually there's leprechauns everywhere. I mean, or at least they're up to Valentine's Day. So you're always ahead of that. And that's kind of what we do. We'll record a bunch of this ahead of time. But I do want to point out that at the time that we're recording, it was a couple of days ago that we lost Ric Ocasek. And I thought this was very significant because I had already mentioned on my blog that it's the 35th anniversary of the very first MTV Music Awards, and this was a big deal. It was broadcast from Radio City Music Hall. It was hosted by Dan Aykroyd, who was he was on fire with Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And Bette Midler. Those were and I remember the show closed with Ray Parker Jr., singing Ghostbusters. Was kind of like a big sing-along with the audience. But the music video of the year was the Cars' You Might Think, which, in 1984, now you had to be of a certain age, our age, 1984, I want you to also imagine everybody knew of MTV, not everybody had MTV. Yeah. Their ad campaign at this time would have different rock stars like Pat Benatar and Sting, actually Sting with the Police, I should say, and all of these people, basically shouting at the camera, going, "America, demand your MTV!" And you would have different close-ups of different, either frantic or sexy, or like Pat Benatar was a little bit more seductive. Yeah. I'm trying to remember who else was in it. You had A-listers in the world of rock and roll, and they were all just basically saying those lines, "I want my MTV," and they would. This is how a lot of cable companies a lot of channels would advertise. It's like, if you don't have MTV, tell your cable operator, get your cable operator on the phone and say, "I want my MTV." And they'd be, really loud. It was also, at that time, TVs were not in stereo yet, but they were starting to experiment broadcasting in stereo, and MTV was the first to do that. And there were ways that you could go, do I have to speak historically, to a place like Radio Shack, right? Which I used to work for them back in that time period.
A couple of weeks ago, we replayed the segment where you and Donna and we said happy birthday to Bob Newhart. And I'd forgotten that you had closed that segment by telling the story of how you met Newhart at
Radio Shack.
Because
Bob
previous
Newhart
life.
was writing, and he had a PC when this was new. This was not something that was a fixture in anybody's home yet.
Yeah.
And he was very adept at using computers to catalog jokes and routines, and he was still doing Newhart, and we had the Radio Shack that I worked for was, Radio Shack and Computer Center. So you can get your Tandy computer.
A Tandy Corporation.
Yeah. It was a Tandy computer, Tandy Corporation, which was based out of Texas. And I was not computer savvy. There was basically one person in the store that was fluent in computer savviness. And, so I'm pushing VCRs, batteries, whatever gadgetry that you could get at Radio Shack at the time. Some, we were all encouraged to spend a little time in the computer center. There was no formal training. You just kind of learned by watching everybody else.
Yeah.
But Newhart was kind of expanding and growing and looking for parts and things like that to build up what he had. And keep in mind, what was there were no hard drives. You had discs and all that. But you could hook up to your dot matrix printer. And we had this junk box of pieces. Something would break, but we would still save because you could cannibalize it to repair something else. And he would be in there, and I said, I'd bring out the junk box, and he said, "Oh, sure, you take that." Like one particular plug that you could basically snap off of one component, and he was very good at the jerry rigging and all that. And while we would, he would rummage through there and look at components. Very nice, soft-spoken guy. But we would also talk about back at that time period, you could still hear Bob Newhart comedy routines on flights.
Yeah.
And I would ask him about the routines because I was doing stand-up at the time. In fact, I got in trouble at Radio Shack because I would have to leave early to come to the Ice House in Pasadena, to get 5 minutes.
You and Donna recently returned to the Ice House.
We did something at the Ice House recently with a friend of ours, Harriet Rose.
I was very sad. I didn't find out until the very last minute. I was very sad I couldn't go.
There's got to be video of it. Actually, we retold the story because we couldn't record it at the Ice House, where we told the story at Story Salon, and then we're going to be doing it again in another venue. But
we'll be doing
we'll be doing something at I think in Eagle Rock, and
that's okay,
which is not far from Pasadena.
Somebody
just invited us, but it's funny because Donna and I. 10 plus years ago, we were doing some storytelling together where we would tell the stories in sync, and sometimes it would be a little bit of a he said, she said.
Yeah.
And we did it on and off, and
you did like a Twilight Zone kind of parody where you kind of do that.
We've done that.
One of the many videos you did.
Yeah, one of the videos we did that. We've also done kind of an homage to the Bickersons. Somebody was doing a show, and they wanted it to kind of be a little bit more, I don't even want to say retro, because if I say retro, people think the 80s. They wanted to do something a little bit more 40s, 50s, like a radio variety type show.
I think retro depends on the demographic
that you're talking to. But if I said retro, it's like, that would be like Me TV showing the facts of life.
Yes.
Or, Saved by the Bell might be retro to somebody.
Yeah.
But they wanted it, more of the 40s, where people were smoking and drinking cocktails and sobriety was optional, on stage. And so they wanted something, of that. Is like, can you two do something? And so we did something that was more of in the vein of the Bickersons, which was, a radio and TV show.
Don Amici.
Yeah, with Don Amici. Yeah, so it was basically Donna not letting me sleep because there's a spider in the bathroom, but I couldn't kill it,
Francis Langhorne.
Yes, yeah. And we were doing that. And Donna and I have studied Nichols and May and Stiller and Mira and to try to capture, by modern standards, some of those routines are a little bit. What would be a
well, definitely
not in compliance with the Me Too movement.
Well, it's a different era.
It was a definite different
and
era.
So you have to understand the context.
We were definitely trying to capture the spirit of some of that stuff, but certainly, I couldn't do something like Gleason saying "one of these days," and we would practice with stuff like that. It would be okay for her to say something like that to me, but not the other way around. But we were able to. We told the story of our wedding, which was something. We've been married 26 plus years now, and Donna has told the story of our wedding on different occasions, different pieces of it. But the theme for the show in the Ice House was love in Hollywood, and so they asked us. We live in Hollywood, and we've had a good run with the marriage so far in Hollywood, which. We don't. I can't take it personally when people say, "Wow, that's a long time," and it's like it's not a chore to be married to. It's, but the lifespan of a marriage in this town and people who work doing what we do doesn't go the distance often.
Absolutely,
yeah. My parents didn't stay married very long. Statistically, that would have an impact on me if you believe the experts.
I didn't stay married that long.
You didn't stay married that long, and how long were your parents married?
Yeah.
But, we did the show at the Ice House, and it was a lot of fun, but it was, they wanted something a little bit more romantic along with comedic, and so it was great, and then somebody else asked us to do the same bit over there, so it was kind of fun working with Donna in that capacity.
Tony Figueroa is with us as we take a look at This Week in TV History. Donna Allen is on assignment. She'll be back next time. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay Area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
This segment with Tony originally aired in November 2019.
Because I would like to bring up what started this incredible tangent, which was that Cars video, which got the award 35 years ago, because it was the first music video to use computer graphics. Mm-hmm. And so this was huge. I mean, this was music videos were new. This was the time, where Madonna was breaking out, Cyndi Lauper was breaking out, and, you had a new medium for these musical artists. But, like Madonna's like a virgin, you would see her in Venice, or Lucky Star, she was with a white background. Cyndi Lauper, there'd be like vignettes with girls who just want to have fun, or, split screens, kind of a Brady Bunch thing, the girls, But this was, and Michael Jackson was already breaking ground with that, but this was the first one that was using all these computer graphics. So first of all, it is a fun song. It is a great song. It is something that you'd want to sing along to, very upbeat. But the visuals with Ric Ocasek and Susan Gallagher, who is the supermodel in the video, you have this guy pursuing this girl, and that's the whole theme. but the visuals going on in the background, him driving a car over her, flattening her, it's a lot of fun. But it was one of those videos that as soon as you heard the first couple of notes, you would stop what you're doing and watch the video. Mm-hmm. So going back to what I was saying, not everybody had MTV. Yeah. You know, the cable companies were saying, call your cable operator I want my MTV. But even if you didn't have this in your home, you may have been at the dentist office. You may have been in a restaurant. You may have been in a club. My favorite tavern would have MTV playing in the background, right? So wherever you would go, you would hear those first couple of notes. Dun, 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 dun. Everybody stopped what they were doing and rushed to the screen because they had to watch it. You know, you had to, you know, the Madonna thing. Oh, it's Madonna. And you kept doing what you were doing. All due respect to Madonna. But when you would hear that, everybody stopped and looked. And I remember hearing the song on the radio, or if you were in a club, people were mimicking the video. But you know, like the first thing I heard when I first heard the song on the radio, I was with a friend of mine. He goes, "Have you seen the video for this?" I don't think that ever happened prior.
Yeah.
I would say shortly after that, Madonna did her Material Girl video, which is first and foremost a wonderful homage to Marilyn Monroe and Gentlemen Wear Blondes. But it was, you know, when people would talk about it, they would criticize it, you know, is this setting the right example for kids about being materialistic and all that? And I said, well, the moral of the video was no, because ultimately the guy pursuing her gave her some hand-picked daisies. That's know.
Right. But the introduction of computer graphics
was amazing, and you could see the potential of what they could do. Because this was like, first of all, you have computers, and computers were something that you bought at Radio Shack or
a Tandy Corporation.
The new Apple, the Macintosh, was introduced in 1980. Remember, their campaign was, why 1984 won't be like 1984. And it had this thing called a mouse.
Yes.
And, you know, the screen was about the size of an early TV screen, which is not much bigger than a piece of toast.
Yes.
Which we have phones with a bigger screen. So you were still thinking computers were more like word processors, that it was for documents. You were, you know, we knew that computers could do stuff with photos, but you didn't really see it. Nobody was showing you how this was. Oh yeah, we're going to use computers for, I think the first time you saw it in a movie was like The Last Starfighter. Right? Prior to that, Star Wars and things that followed, it was miniature models. So I don't think people were really making the connection. How does the computer make these visuals happen? And I think that thinking continued on throughout the 80s until the advent of Photoshop, where people could actually get an idea. How does the computer make this happen?
Tony Figueroa is with us as we remember the passing of Ric Ocasek of the Cars, and particularly the video for the Cars hit song, You Might Think, which was the very first video to use computer graphics. We'll take a quick time out, then we'll talk some more with Tony here on TV Confidential. Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the TV Confidential podcast, or better yet, give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or wherever you listen to our podcast.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-841-9670. 800-841-9670. 800-841-9670. That's 800-841-9670.